Okay, I'm going to show you how to print off a life-size image of a deer to make your own targets for archery.
How to make your own realistic paper targets from your own photographs. And for example here, I want to make a paper target of this deer I took. So you need to take the appropriate picture of your animal quarry, and it should occupy roughly 1/3, at least a minimum of 1/3 of your entire frame, and you can see that does here in this shot. And also you'll notice that the deer is slightly quartering away from me because this is in a direct shot. I would expect to be aiming at the deer when it's not looking at me. It's looking away from me. Yeah, and so I have a clear shot here. So how do we go about doing that? So first of all, let's open this up. Here it is here in the picture here. Now this is not a lesson, I'm going to do this in Photoshop, but it's not a lesson in Photoshop, and I'm going to assume that you're relatively savvy in using this application. We're also going to need a printer, but we don't need any photographic grade paper, just ordinary A4 paper will suffice, 80 GSM A4 paper. So why would you do this? Because you can go to the archery stores and you can buy these paper targets, and heck, we've all used them. They're relatively cheap, but basically, we all know those paper targets are pretty lackluster when it comes to reality, and generally they're not the right sizes either in realistic terms. There are a number of ways to print things in Photoshop, and this is really just a quick and dirty version, and the result will be a realistic life-size target. So let's get started. So you're going to need a digital image, and I've got my digital image here. It was taken at an animal park. What we need to do is we need to get an idea of how big this thing is going to print. So in Photoshop, go up to Preferences, and in Preferences go to Units and Rulers, and then at Units and Rulers, make sure that the rulers are in inches, okay, and just click OK. So we'll display inches up here. The next thing you want to do is go to Image, and go to image size. And for my particular image, this is an image of a small deer. I'm going to change this width here. This is also in inches. I'm going to change this to 150, and I'm going to click OK for that. Okay. And that'll take a little bit to change that because it's resampling the image. And here it is here, and there's the image there. And we can get an idea now of how big this will be. Depending on what kind of printer you have, there might be some upscaling from the printer too. So it's a little bit of, depending on how super realistic you want it, better to be a little bit bigger than smaller, I think anyway. Now go and do Command P. This is a Mac, I'm using a Mac, but it doesn't matter, Mac, PC, Control P for print. So now I want to, let's say, print this leg, and to get an idea of the, is this going to produce a realistic image for me in size. The other thing on my printer, I'm going to control some things here on the printer, and that is I want to print, click this box, print selected area. So that's going to print that selected area. So now I'm just going to print that, and when I do that, off it goes. And you don't need to worry so much about the background there because it's irrelevant on there. But if you can get a natural background for the picture, all the better.
Okay, there's my life-size image of a small deer. The scale on there, it might be a bit hard to read here, but it's about 42 inches, 43 inches from head to tail. So it's about a small size of a small deer. You can see on these pieces here, I have yet to cut off the edge border to make the montage, and then I'll glue the whole thing together. I've missed some of the ear, you could put in that detail, but there you can make out where you would aim for. But this is a much more realistic target than having one of these paper targets I find from archery, which are just really boring. If you're going to practice, don't make it so boring. So there you go.